It is getting recorded now. Okay. So let me begin by thanking everyone for taking the time out and joining the class today on a weekend. Thank you so much for doing this. Let me quickly begin by giving my introduction. So my name is Vaibhav, and I have close to about 20 years of WorkX, and I have been working on VMware technology since 2010. To be precise, April 2010. I mean, that is when I got introduced to VMware technology. And I've been working on VMware technology since that time. So it's been close to about 14, 15 years that I've been working on VMware technology. I have worked in different roles. So I was earlier a system administrator, like a level one, then kept getting promoted, became level three in system engineer, then became a support engineer, and now I basically do consulting for VMware. So this is what my profile is. On VMware products, I help the customers to design, to implement, to migrate, see, how the implementation can be done, what are the things to take care of. So this is what my current profile is currently. This is what I do. Yeah. Um, just give me 1 minute, please. I mean, there's some background noise coming. Okay, just give me 1 minute and I'll be back. Thank you. Hey, sorry for that. Um, okay. Can you hear me now? Am I audible? Um, am I low to everyone else, or am I okay now? Can you guys hear me well, or you think my volume is low? Okay now? Okay, fine, cool, thank you. All right, so that was about me, that I've been doing VMware for close to about 20 odd years. I'm sorry, 15 odd years. So yeah, I worked in different roles, and yeah, that's about me. Okay. Now, let me quickly share my screen and talk about the reason for this, session that we are having today. Okay. So let me share my screen. Okay, where is Zoom share? Okay, this is the one. Okay, I am sharing my screen now. Okay, cool. So I would like to take you through a couple of things over here. And I would like to basically begin by talking about that why you should be learning VMware. I mean, I understand that there are so many technologies out there, and we always, look into, what's in it for me? What's the benefit? Why should I be looking into it? Yeah. If you have any questions that you have, um, feel free to put it on the, chat, and, uh, I will be taking them up. If you have any questions, you can also unmute yourself and you can ask. Okay, let's keep let's keep the session interactive so that it is helpful for all of us. So Mukesh, if you're not able to see my screen, I would request you if you can join again. I think there could be some problem with your connection, because I am sharing my screen and my Zoom preview is basically showing me that I am sharing it. So could be some odd thing at your end. Okay. Now, um, what I'll be doing is that, let me first talk about that why you should be learning VMware. Okay, that's the first thing. Let's answer that big question. So the reason you should be learning VMware is because VMware as a technology is here to stay. I mean, VMware as a technology basically revolutionized, the way physical machines work and how they, work. So let me give you some examples, that to talk about that what benefit is basically virtualization bringing you. Okay, so I'll basically begin by talking about. Okay, let me increase the size over here. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing, think about it, if you have a data center, okay, let's say that you have a data center, and now in a data center, you have a lot of physical boxes. Okay. Let's say that, we are not utilizing VMware. We are only using physical hardware. Okay. I am basically now going to tell you what are the challenges that you will run into if you are not using virtualization. Okay. We all understand that, virtualization is important, but really the challenges that you're going to run into, let me basically explore those and let me talk more about it. So if you have a physical box, let's say this is your HP server. So on one HP server, you can install only one operating system and one application. This is what basically the fundamentals are. So every machine gets one operating system and one application. Okay, this is the way it will be on every physical machine. Now, there are a lot of challenges with this approach. If you only have physical boxes, and if you are installing only one operating system and one application on them, you are bound to run into a lot of concerns. What are those concerns? Let me answer that question now. Okay. So the first concern that you will run into is the capex, which is the capital expenditure. That is, if you call up HP and you tell HP that, hey, HP, I need to buy a hardware. Okay. HP will say, sure, you can buy a new hardware. What's the specification that you're looking at? You will tell HP that, I need so much of RAM, so much of CPU, memory, whatever the details that you need, you will basically tell HP, and HP will say, okay, fine, I'll ship you the server. Who's going to pay for it? Are you going to pay via credit card, or how the payment is going to be? Now, the question is, when you're buying a hardware, it is for the company. I mean, this is not for a personal use. So who is going to pay for the hardware? That's important. Okay. So it's not going to be us who would be paying from our, pockets. It has to be company. It has to be the IT budget. So think about it. If you buy 100 physical boxes, someone has to pay for those 100 physical boxes upfront. So that is basically the capital expenditure, capex. So when you're buying the hardware, you have to pay for it. Okay. The second problem that you will run into is OpEx. That is, if you have 100 machines, you need facility, you need folks to manage the environment. Now, who is going to manage the environment? So you will have to buy a lot of data center space. So you cannot keep, these physical servers in your home, in your office, because that's not the right place to keep the servers. Data center is a dedicated place that looks after cooling, electricity, dedicated internet, security, and making sure that you are compliant in audit. So that is why you need a data center to cover you with all these aspects. So when you buy the hardware, that's the first thing that you're paying money. Then you have to keep all these boxes in the data center. Again, you are paying money for that. So that's the um, second challenge that you will run into, is that you need a lot of people in your team, and you need a lot of space. You need a lot of data center requirement to basically host all these machines. So that is the other concern that you will run into. Then the third concern that you will run into is about utilization. Okay. What do I mean by utilization? Utilization basically means when you open your machine and when you go to the performance, you would see over here that how much RAM is getting utilized. So for example, if you see that my CPU is getting 3% utilized and my RAM is getting utilized 21%. However, you would want your hardware to be utilized. You did not pay so much of money that you only would use 2% of CPU, or you would only use 10% of CPU. You basically paid so much of money because you want to use the hardware. That is what the intention is. Okay. So you want a good utilization. Now the concern is you have only one operating system and one application which is deployed on the physical machine. If that application or that operating system is not asking for a lot of CPU and memory, there is no way that you would be able to share that resources with anyone else, because all the resources that you put in a physical box, that will always stay in that physical box. For example, if you have a laptop and if you have a desktop at home, okay, and if you are only using like 50% of the RAM or 50% of the CPU. Do you have a way to open up your laptop, take out half of the CPU and give it to someone else, let them use it for some time, and then they can give it back to you? I mean, that's not physically possible, with the physical machines. So with the physical machines, whatever resources you have, they go in the machine and that's about it. If you are utilizing them, great. If you're not utilizing them, there is nothing that can be done about it. Okay. So it is important to keep in mind that um, with the physical machines, you have to utilize them. If you're not utilizing them, there is nothing that can be done about it. Okay. Now, the other concern that we have is that every physical machine that you buy, it has a lifespan. After 5 years, you need to throw away that machine and you get a new one because that's the end of the life. Every physical machine has, a lifespan. So if you buy something at a grocery store, it has a shelf life that you have to consume that product within, X amount of days. And after that, that product is as an expired product. You cannot use it. Similarly is the case with the hardware. When you buy a hardware, the maximum time that you can use the hardware is for close to about 5 to 7 years. After 7 years, you have to throw away the box and you have to get a new one. Now think about it. If you had 1,000 physical boxes in your environment on which you're running the operating system and the application, and then you have to throw away those boxes and you have to get new ones. Think about it, the time that you will have to spend. Okay. And when you are throwing away these old boxes, you are not going to get any money. Okay. Don't be in a misconception that if you give the old hardware to any organization, they are going to give you some money out for that. You have to pay money because there is a proper, or I should say, there is a ISO certified disposal vendor whom you would have to reach out to, and that vendor will basically collect the hardware, come at your data center, and then basically dispose it. So this is what you will have to do. Okay. So you are basically doing away with those hardware boxes as well. So that's a life cycle manager. Okay. If you do that activity couple of times, replacing the hardware, putting everything back in and doing the restore, it'll be fun for you. But if you have to do that activity 5 times or maybe 6 times a month, trust me, you will not like it. Okay. So lifecycle manager is an important challenge that you have to throw away these boxes and get new ones. Okay. The other concern that you have is, what if someone comes to you and says, I need a new Windows box, I need a new Windows machine, I need to install my application, and I need to do some testing over here. Okay. And if the guy says, give me a Windows machine right now. Now, the question is, if you have a physical spare box available with you, then only you can give that physical box to them, after installing Windows, and you can tell them that, here is the machine, RDP it and connect to it, and you can start using it. However, if you do not have a physical box, what will you do? How would you give machine to an end user or to an application owner? So the time it takes to get a machine ready, to provision a machine, to buy a hardware is a very long time. If you call up HP and you have a credit card, you will be paying for the machine, and you tell HP, give me the hardware tomorrow. HP will say, I cannot deliver the hardware tomorrow. At least it will take a week or two. And depending on that, you will get the hardware. There is no express pizza delivery that you give a call to pizza guy and he comes in within few minutes and you have your hot pizza. I mean, that's not the way it is. So with virtual environment, that can be taken care of. So provisioning time is a concern if you are running a complete physical environment. Okay. The other concern that you will run into is basically about downtime. So let's take an example. You have a physical machine and that goes down. Let's say both the power supplies crashed. Let's say there is some circuit issue with the motherboard, or let's say there is some other concern. Now, the kind of contract you have, it will depend on how soon the part is getting replaced. Now, let me give you a hypothetical scenario. Let's say today is a Thursday and my HP server, breaks down. There are two power supplies. For some reason, both of them basically short. I mean, both of them are not working. Now I call up HP. It's 5 in the evening, and I tell the HP guy that, hey, my server is down, and I want you to help me send an engineer and get the part replaced. HP will pull up my account, and HP will say, Sorry, you do not have a next business day support. You do not have a mission critical support with you. Tomorrow is a Friday, tomorrow is a public holiday, then Saturday, Sunday, then Monday. On Monday only I can send an engineer at your place. Now think about it. You are basically down for 3 days because you did not pay enough for the physical contract. Okay. You got the contract, but you did not get a next business day contract. So for that, they will be sending an engineer on Monday. So now for 3 days, you have to basically manage. There is nothing that you can do about it to get that hardware up because that's a physical failure. The operating system is down, the application is down. Nothing can be done about it. Now, if you have a physical spare server with you, you will install the OS, restore all the data, and then you will get things up okay. Okay. That's the kind of a challenge that you will run into. Okay. Now, the last point that you will have issues is it with scalability. Let's say I have a new project coming in wherein I need 100 new Windows machines or I need 100 new Linux boxes. Can you give me 100 Linux machines now? You would say, I need to buy 100 physical boxes. I need to check with my data center guy that if they have capacity to host 100 boxes, I need to do all the cabling. I need to do all the mapping. And then I would be able to give you 100 boxes. It's not like I would be able to give that to you in a day or a two. I need at least a month or a two before I can give you 100 boxes. So these are all the challenges that you will run into if you are running a physical environment. Now, let's compare it with a virtual environment. So in a virtual environment, CapEx is not a problem because you're buying one hardware. And if you buy a monster hardware, with close to about good amount of RAM, good amount of CPU, you could run at least about 20 to 30 virtual machines on one hardware. So you're buying less hardware. You do not have to worry about data center bills, because you are deploying 30 new virtual machines. These are not physical machines for which you need capacity from the data center. Your data center bill is going to go up. You do not have to do that. Okay, it's all virtual machines, all in that one box. Okay. With VMware, you do not have to worry about utilization. If one virtual machine is not utilizing the amount of resources, no problem. My underlying hypervisor will give the resources to another virtual machine. Okay. I can better use my utilization. Lifecycle manager, I do not have to worry about it because there are very less physical machines that I would be replacing at the end of the 5 years because most of my servers that I have are virtual machines. These are not physical machines. So I do not have to worry about, you know, replacing a lot of physical boxes. These are only the virtual boxes that I have to basically move online from one machine to another machine, and that will be it. Yeah. Provisioning. You want a new Windows machine? I can give it to you in less than 2 minutes. Okay. You want a new Linux machine? Fine. Give me less than 2 minutes. I can have a new operating system ready for you with an IP address. You can do an SSH and you are good to go. The amount of CPU and memory that you want, it can be all done. So provisioning time, you do not have to worry about, getting a new hardware, racking and stacking it, and then you would be able to get it. In less than 2 minutes, you can have a Windows machine or a Linux machine. No problem with the downtime. If the physical machine goes down, no concerns. In less than 5 minutes, all your virtual machines will basically fail over to another, physical box that you have in your environment, and everything will come back up. Okay, so you do not have to worry about making sure that the box has gone down. What will happen to my servers? All that will be taken care of. Scalability. You need 100 machines. I can give it to you in less than 30 minutes. Okay, in 30 minutes, you can have less than 100 machines. I can do parallel provisioning via scripting, and everything will be taken care of. Okay, so these are the benefits that you will have if you run a VMware environment. And these are the concerns that you will have if you only run a physical environment. Anyone has any questions, whatever we have discussed, any questions up till now, please let me know. Okay, now let me talk about how are we addressing all these challenges. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, what would basically happen is that you have one physical box, and on that one physical box, you install one operating system and one application. This is what you are doing, right? Now, in a virtualized environment, what do? I have my physical box. And in that physical box, what am I doing? I am installing a hypervisor. Okay. And think about hypervisor as a base operating system. Like you install Windows on the machine directly. Similarly, you will be installing hypervisor on the machine directly. Okay. And then you would create a lot of virtual machines over here. Okay. This is what the benefit is. This is how the architecture looks like. Okay. Someone has a question. Okay. Let me. Okay. Try unmuting yourself now.
Okay. My question is, thank you. My question is, the hypervisor that you're talking about, is it like some, are you talking about VMware Workstation, Oracle VirtualBox?
Yeah. So what would happen is basically, if I talk about the word hypervisor, okay, what is a hypervisor? So a hypervisor can be an operating system or it can be an application. It can be one out of two. Okay. Now, a hypervisor's basic requirement is that on one physical box, you should be able to run multiple operating systems. That is multiple virtual machines. So a hypervisor, it can be an operating system, it can be an application, but both of them will give you the flexibility that you can run multiple operating systems. That is what basically a definition of a hypervisor is. Okay. Now, let me,
Is that a software?
yep, let me explain that to you. So what would basically happen is, let's say that you have a physical box. This is an HP server. Okay. On this HP server, you will have a hard drive. Okay. Now, what you do is on this hard drive, you install an operating system, for example, Windows. Okay. And then you install an application, let's say IIS. Okay. And now you are using one operating system and one application on the HP box. This is how the traditional environment is. Now, let's change it. Now, what I will do is on my HP server, I will now go ahead and install, this is the hard drive, okay? So on the hard drive, what I will do is I will install a hypervisor, okay? So what is a hypervisor? Hypervisor is a complete operating system, just like Windows. When you had to install Windows on this hardware, the installation happened directly on the hard drive. Your hard drive was blank over here, and you installed Windows directly on the hard drive. You did not need any third-party bootloader. You did not need any floppy hard drive, nothing. I mean, all that you needed was there was an ISO. You mounted the ISO and you started the installation on the hard drive. That is what will be happening on a hypervisor as well. So this is a type 1 hypervisor. So in a type 1 hypervisor, you install the operating system just like Windows directly on the hard drive. This is what you will do. After the installation is done, then you will go ahead and create a lot of virtual machines over here. Okay. So this is what a type 1 hypervisor is. Any questions anyone has on a type 1 hypervisor?
Is there any
Okay,
different types of hypervisor?
true. Let me answer that question. So if you talk about a type 1 hypervisor, you have a lot of type 1 hypervisors available in the market. The one that VMware gives you is called ESXi. Okay, so this is a complete operating system. You install ESXi directly on the hard drive. This is what you do. Okay, so if you have to install it, just like you install Windows 10 on your laptop directly, you install a Windows Server, a Windows Server operating system on an HP hardware directly. Similarly, ESXi is an operating system. It's a type 1 hypervisor that you install on the physical box directly. This is what you will do. Okay. I have a humble request. If you do not have any questions, please be on mute. This is to avoid the background noise. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is the type 1 hypervisor. Now, let me answer the question. what is a type 2 hypervisor. Okay. So when I talk about a type 2 hypervisor, think about it as an application. Okay. So let's take an example. You have a laptop. Okay. On that laptop, you install Windows 10. Okay. After installing Windows 10, let's take an example. You want to watch a movie. You have a movie file and you want to watch a movie. Which application you can use? One of them is VLC, though you have a lot of them, but one of them is a VLC application. Okay. One of them is a VLC application. Now you can watch the movie on this VLC. Now, what is a VLC? VLC is an EXE. It is an application. It needs an operating system. You cannot install the VLC on the hard drive directly. It needs an operating system on which it can be installed. And after that, you would be able to use the application. So similarly is the case with the type 2 hypervisor as well. So when you talk about a type 2 hypervisor, the VMware gives you for a Windows or for a Linux machine, it's called a VMware Workstation. Okay. So you get a VMware Workstation for Windows and Linux. If you have a Mac, you get Fusion. Okay. Both of them are for free. You do not have to pay anything. Okay. And you can download them from the Broadcom website because VMware has been acquired by Broadcom. You can go to Broadcom website, you can download them and you can use it in your environment. Okay. You also have, others like, mentioned Oracle VirtualBox. You are absolutely right. So that is also a type 2 hypervisor. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, got it. Thank you.
Oh, okay, cool. Now let me show you from the
Is there
architecture.
any, may I ask a question for
Go
this
for it. Go for
virtualization
it.
related?
Go for it.
See, whenever we are going for virtualization, no, we are having Windows and Mac for getting the type 2 hypervisor. But while going for directly base from Linux, we cannot host the virtualization
So
from
if
the
you have,
as per the hardware. We have firstly we can directly go with the Linux, and after that we can go for virtualization. That is possible or not in type 2?
see, you need to understand on a Linux, you can install VMware Workstation as an application, and then you can create virtual machines on top of that. Okay. This is what you
Okay.
can do. So the architectural, the way it would look like is you would have a physical machine. Let's say this is your physical machine. On this physical machine, you will be installing Linux as an operating system. Then, or Windows, anything you can install. Then you would have to install VMware Workstation. And once you have installed VMware Workstation, you can create a lot of virtual machines. This is what you can do. Everyone will have their own operating system, their own application, and this is the way this will look like.
That is correct. But just I like to have some more details regarding Linux-based virtualization, because
See,
when
I
we are
am
having in
only,
Windows,
Dhananjay, let me stop you over there. I am only covering ESXi. I am not a Linux expert.
I will be happy to go with that. But just can you please? I will take only 1 minute to understand the things.
Go for it.
Because when we check in the Linux, the RAM and CPU and all that is in some different format. So how we can virtualize the things according to that?
So what you are saying is on a physical machine, you have installed Linux as an operating system, and now you want to use virtualization. Is that what your question is?
Yeah, because when in Windows, when we go for virtualization, it is getting 2x. Whenever CPU we are taking one CPU is there, it will be go to 2 CPU like that. No, as a core, we can
See,
increase. It is
that
a
will
virtualization
happen.
feature.
So no. That's not a virtualization feature. That's a CPU feature, and that's called hyperthreading. So hyperthreading is a
Hyperthreading.
functional ring wherein your one core can basically logically divide into two parts, A and B. Okay. So it's not
Okay.
a operating system feature, it's a physical processor feature. If you install processor on a Linux machine or a Windows machine, hyperthreading would work on basically both of them. Okay.
Okay.
So on Linux, if you have to enable virtualization, VMware Workstation is one of the platforms via which you can do that. Okay. Anyone else has any questions so far?
Hi.
Anil this side. So
Okay, go
just
for
I
it.
wanted to confirm. So one of the physical server, I mean Windows 16 or 19, whatever installed,
Mhm.
and when we configure the Hyper-V,
Mhm.
so which hypervisor used by Hyper-V? Is it
I don't know.
hypervisor one?
I don't know. I don't work on Hyper-V. Sorry, buddy. I only work on ESXi. I can talk about ESXi.
I know
Okay.
we can talk about the ESXi, but I'm talking about the hypervisor. Hypervisor one is
See,
the clear, the
true,
Windows
but
installed directly on the
what
hardware.
I don't know what Hyper-V is using, no, because I've not used it. How can I comment on Hyper-V? Okay, I work on ESXi platform. I don't work on Hyper-V platform. I've never worked on a Hyper-V platform, so it will not be right for me to comment on that, no? That's the point. I
Okay,
hope you get my point. So here I am talking
yeah,
about
I got it.
ESXi.
But okay, no issue.
Okay, so Hyper-V, I don't know how it works. What it is using in the background, what it works, how you can create a virtual machine, what are the limitations. I'm not the right person to answer that question, Anil. So I cannot answer that
I
question, no?
know, but the hypervisor you just
Hmm,
already
hmm,
confirmed the
hmm,
Windows which directly installed on the hardware.
hmm,
Hypervisor, the one hypervisor is used, right?
hmm,
ESXi, which is installed directly on the hardware,
uh-huh,
the hypervisor one is used, right?
huh, correct.
When when we installed any software over there, either first of all, if we have installed the ESXi
Hmm,
over there, we have created one virtual machine, either
hmm,
Windows or
hmm,
Linux, whatever.
hmm, hmm,
So when we use the application over there,
hmm,
like you set the
IIS,
examples, VLC,
IIS, you could use
VLC.
IIS. Fine, fair enough.
Hmm. Okay, so the same thing I'm asking, the Windows over the Windows used, one of hypervisor, Hyper-V, I think.
Hmm.
So that is the I wanted to confirm. Is it used hypervisor one or
No, no,
hypervisor two?
no.
No issue. If we are
See, buddy, you need to understand. There are a couple of things over here. I am not talking about Hyper-V over here. Okay, I am only focusing on ESXi because I have never worked on Hyper-V. That's the
okay,
concern. I don't know
okay,
what Hyper-V does in the background. Okay,
okay.
so
That
I'm not
is
the right person.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so to talk about from
Got
the
some of
architectural point of view, yeah, go for it. Anyone has a
uh,
question?
yeah, this is Yuva here. So sorry to interrupt. Maybe I was a bit ahead. I would like to ask about the architecture. So for
Hmm,
the ESXi, based upon the storage or
hmm,
futures like storage virtualization or disk
hmm,
virtualization, some
hmm,
or based upon the business or the
hmm,
how the operations, how the data center is big,
hmm,
or depends upon the company. Do
hmm.
we have like different type of topologies or architectures starting from
So
basic?
see,
How?
so what basically happens is if you talk about ESXi, you
Uh-huh.
would have a physical machine.
Okay.
On that physical machine, you will directly install ESXi.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, what is ESXi? ESX is a type 1 hypervisor. This is the
It's like
complete operating system. Okay,
yep. Yep.
once
Yep.
you have installed ESXi on the hardware, then you will create virtual machines on top
Okay.
of it. Every
Okay.
virtual machine has an operating system and an application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is how it would work. This is the basic architecture. Now,
Okay.
what you want to do with the application, which application you want to install, that's up to your wish. But this is the basic type 1 architecture that you have. You have a
Okay.
hardware,
Got it.
you install the ESXi, then you create virtual machines, you install the operating system and the application. Now, the
Okay.
operating system can be Windows, it could be Linux, it could be CentOS, this could be Fedora, whatever you feel like. Any x86 architecture would work over here.
Okay, got it. So for example, in some cases, I need to go with limited number of VMs, for example, maximum 20 VMs. On in another case, I need to go for 30 to 50 VMs. In the
Hmm.
case, what's the best hardware recommendation or the before
It basically
install the
depends.
ESXi?
No. So basically what would
Uh-huh.
happen is when you buy a HP server, that HP server
Mhm.
will have certain amount of physical cores. It will have
Okay.
RAM. Okay.
Okay.
It depends on how much cores and how much RAM that you have and what
Okay.
kind of workloads are you creating. That the virtual machine that you're creating over here, for
Mhm.
example, let's say that you have 3000 GB RAM over here on this machine. Okay.
Mhm.
Now you create two virtual machines and you install SAP over here and you install SAP over here and you give 1500 RAM over here, 1500 GB RAM. Okay.
Okay.
So now you can only create two virtual machines on the hardware because you have already utilized the RAM, no? You cannot give,
Okay.
you cannot create any third virtual machine over here. Contrary, if you create a virtual machine and then if you create a lot of VMs over here and you create only Windows 10, you are deploying Windows 10 over here, you could create a lot of virtual machines. Okay. So
Okay.
it basically depends what kind of workloads are you running? What kind of machines are you running? What kind of applications are you running? Accordingly, you will decide that how many virtual machines you can create on one physical box.
It completely depends upon the what vendor hardware
What
that I
are
am
you
going.
running?
Okay.
No, not the
Windows
hardware
basically.
vendor. Which applications are you running? Which
Okay.
uh, which application are you going to run? For
Okay.
example, if you're going to run SAP and you're going to give 1500 GB of RAM to one virtual machine, so you can only run two
Mhm.
virtual machines, no, because you only have 3000 GB of RAM and that's about it. Okay.
Oh,
If
got it.
you are planning to run Windows 10 machines, then you can run 100 or 200 machines on one ESXi box because
Mm.
your workloads, the virtual machines that you are creating, they are less in RAM. That's the reason. You get the
Got it.
point?
Yeah, I got the point. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on. So we spoke about what a type 1 hypervisor is and what a type 2 hypervisor is. So this is basically a type 1 hypervisor. Think about it as a complete operating system. And a type 2 hypervisor is an application. Okay. If you have to do some learning, okay, at an individual level, you always use a type 2 hypervisor like we will be doing in our training. Okay, because we have got one machine. On that one machine we need to install a lot of servers, so there we will be using a type 2 hypervisor. However, in production you always use a type 1 hypervisor. Okay, this is what we will be doing. Now let me quickly talk about that what are we going to cover in this course. Okay, so let me basically show that to you. So what we will be doing is, let me get the URL. Okay, just give me a minute, please. Let me get the URL to show you that what are we going to cover. So if you go to Google, and I'll put the URL in on the chat as well for everyone to have a look at it. This is basically the course content that we will be going ahead with. Okay. So VMware has a lot of different products. What we are focusing on is data center virtualization. Okay. How you can virtualize the data center. And these are the official training curriculum that VMware has basically given. So you need to understand what, as an overview, how it is, how do you install and configure ESXi, what is a vCenter, how do you configure networking. Then it talks about how do you deploy virtual machines, how do you manage virtual machines, how do you configure storage. So all these things we will be going, and we will be talking about them along with the installation and the demo in the lab. Okay, so I'll do a demo for everything. I would show it to you on how things work. Okay, and there are few things which are not mentioned over here. Even that I will go ahead and I will do that. Okay, there are few things that are not mentioned which I think you should absolutely know about in the environment. So I would be basically covering those points as well over here. So this is what the official curriculum is. We will be touching base on each and every point over here. So whatever is mentioned over here, we will be talking about it. We will be doing a demo in the lab. All the videos will be recorded, so you will have offline access. You will get the labs as well. So you can do a practice as well. So whatever I am doing, you can also do it after the class. You can do all the labs. If you have any questions, you can reach out and we can get your doubts sorted out, help you in the lab. So this is what we will be doing. Okay. So this is for the course content, what we will be covering. Now with VMware, earlier you could not give the exam directly, but now you can give the exam directly as well. Okay. Now here are a few more things that we will be covering: cluster and upgrading the environment as well. So all these things will be covered as well. Okay. So now with VMware has basically given you a flexibility that now you can register for the exam directly. Okay. Earlier VMware had a limitation that you had to attend an official training, but now you do not have to attend any official training. Okay. So whenever you are comfortable, you can basically register for the exam. It will cost you $250 and you can appear for the exam. You can give it from your home, and this is how it can be. Okay. So here is the course content, that we will be going through. The class would basically happen on a weekend. So we would be having 3 hours of class on a Saturday, and we would have 3 hours of a class on a Sunday. Okay. It will take close to about 7 to 8 weekends. Okay. And to wrap up the entire course. So this is what we will do. Okay. Anyone has any questions so far? Let me know.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hey, go for it. Evening.
Yeah, actually, I appreciate your work. Actually, I have some doubts, sir. I'm already installed VMware Workstation 17.1. What we called as a hypervisor and what we called as a ESXi. Can you brief about some examples?
So when you talk about the term hypervisor,
Okay.
hypervisor can be an operating system or it can be an application. It can be anything. Okay.
Okay.
Hypervisor gives you the flexibility that on one hardware, you can deploy multiple virtual machines. Hypervisor is like a generic term. Okay. Like you say car. Now, car is a generic term. You can have a car from Ford. You can have a car from, any company, Tata, Mahindra, there's so many companies out there. So car is a generic term, right? So hypervisor is a generic term. Okay. You can have hypervisor from many companies out there. Okay. So the one that we are talking about is called ESXi. ESXi is a type 1 hypervisor. This is a complete operating system, and you install ESXi directly on the hard drive. This is what we do. Okay. After the ESXi installation is done, then I access my ESXi over the URL and I create virtual machines. Okay. Let me show that to you on how it basically looks like. So what would happen over here is that this is my home environment. Okay. So this is my ESXi. On physical machine, I installed an ESXi. I would hit the URL. I would log into the ESXi. And this is the way I would create a lot of virtual machines. So you see over here, I've got 76 virtual machines. Okay. And then you would have storage, networking, and blah, blah, blah. We can do a lot of things over here. So this is what an ESXi is. This is how you would access it. And then you would create a lot of virtual machines. So this is a type 1 hypervisor that I have.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, buddy?
I'm understand, but what we called ESXi, which means server OS, right?
ESXi is a type 1 hypervisor that you deploy directly on the HP hardware.
Okay.
Okay. So this is used in production environments. In the enterprise organizations, you will be using ESXi. This is a complete operating system, and this operating system goes directly on the hard drive of the HP server. Like if you will have to install a Linux or a Windows, you will install directly on the hardware. No. Similarly, you will be doing over here as well. Okay. Go for it. Someone, if you have any questions.
Good afternoon from London. I have a question. The ESXi is how much does it cost? You said you're running that.
So ESXi, what we will be using is a trial version. So basically VMware gives you. So VMware basically gives you a trial for 60 days. Okay. After 60 days. Yeah. So I cannot afford the license, to be honest. So I will be using it. It basically costs you $35 per physical core. So depends on every physical core, and this is the basic one. If you go for a
you took
very
the-
advanced one, that will cost you $350 per core. Yeah. So it depends.
It's
It is not basically, for an individual purpose. For an individual purpose, go for the trial. 60 days are more than enough, to test the
60 days
application.
more than enough. Yeah.
After that,
Okay.
you can do
And the
a
implementation
reinstallation,
cost
no?
is also there.
Yeah, after that, just give me a minute, Dhananjay, I will come back to you. So after 60 days, you can go for the reinstallation and you can have another 60 days. So just keep refreshing the trial, keep reinstalling it, and you should be good. I mean, you do not have to buy any license key, to be honest.
Thank you very much. It's good to know, at least.
Yeah. So we'll be using a trial version, and in trial version, the best part is all the features are allowed. Like if you buy any trial version of any application, they give you limited functionality.
Oh,
Okay?
limited functionality. Okay.
But here you get full functionality. All the features are enabled. There is no limited functionality. So VMware gives you a 60 days full functionality. Use whatever, any way that you feel like.
Okay. One more question before I finish. Sorry.
Hey, there's someone at my door. Just give me a minute. I'll be back. Just give
No
me a minute,
problem.
okay?
Take your time.
Thank Hey, I'm back. Sorry. Yeah, you had a question? Go for it.
Yeah. And thank you very much for sharing this vital information, because I didn't know. I didn't have any clue. And
No
now I know,
problem.
at least I will use definitely what you recommended, the 60 days trial version. One more question.
Correct.
If I would have, what hardware would you recommend us to find out, what kind of, is it i7, i5, 16 gigabyte RAM? What
So
advice can you give me on that, please?
you do not have to buy any hardware. We will give you hardware in the lab. We have the hardware in the lab. You just need to remotely access it. And,
Or remotely
it can be,
access?
yeah, it can be done via any desk. It can be done via TeamViewer. You just access the hardware and you use it. You do not have to buy anything.
Yeah, but I have already bought some, like HB Core i7 I have
Okay.
already. I bought,
So,
want to use locally.
okay. So I would recommend 64 GB of RAM as a minimum.
Yeah,
Okay.
64 GB, yeah. RAM, yeah.
500 GB SSD.
500 GB, yeah.
And an i7 processor. That's it.
i7 processor, okay. All right, thank
These are
you.
the things.
Okay,
No problem. In case
thanks
if
a
you
lot.
don't have it, don't worry about it. We will give you the lab for all the
Thank you very
practice.
much.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks a lot. Let me mute.
Sure. Dhananjay, you had a question? Go for it.
After purchasing, there is any implementation cost also by the VMware team?
No, why would VMware implement it for you? No, they are giving
So,
you only the ISO. Like you download
okay.
the ISO for Windows or Linux, no, and you install the operating system
Yeah.
on your own. Similarly, you will be doing over here.
But when we have worked with Nutanix, their team has been arrived to our location. They have done the things.
See,
So
it
they have taken some
depends.
costing for that.
Correct. So this is an enterprise thing that you're talking about. So at an
Yeah, yeah.
office, at an enterprise thing, if you're buying VMware, of course, VMware will do everything for you. You do not have to worry about it. What the cost is at the enterprise level, I cannot answer that question because it depends on what you're buying, how many pieces you are buying, what is the discount that you're getting, what is the kind of relationship that you have. So it depends on a lot of things. I cannot answer that question. But yeah, at an enterprise level, if you're saying, yeah, of course, VMware will do that for you, but you will have to talk to them.
And
At a personal level, you will have to do this on your own, the
understood.
installation of the thing. Yeah,
For learning the implementation part, we can learn from this lab and all.
absolutely. Like I mentioned, you do
Yeah.
not have to buy anything. In case if you have it, great. If you don't have it, no problem.
At least in my office or my organization, I can directly enroll to the purpose that you can just buy the license. I will be doing the implementation side, so that will be also helpful for this course, I think.
Correct. If you want to do an implementation in your office after this training, you will be able to do that because I will show you on how to install the components, how to stitch them together, how to create a virtual machine, how to access it, what you need to do, how to set up networking. I'll talk about everything. No, I will show you a demo for everything. So after this training, you
Yeah.
will be able to do the same in your office.
Mhm. That's why, because many of the organization is demanding for our product. Whenever we are going for any product deployment, so they
Mhm.
required virtualization or the servers, separate servers for us. So
Sure.
sometimes they refer their own VMwares and AXIs and all. Sometimes they give us Nutanix, or otherwise fresh hardware also, and virtualization also they prefer. So nowadays they are
Sure.
mostly moving to Nutanix. So how we can target that AXIs and all?
See,
Because
I don't know about
this
Nutanix, to be honest. Okay, that's another
uh,
technology. That's another
so
hypervisor. So if you want
uh-huh,
to install ESXi, if you want to learn
uh-huh.
ESXi, this is something that I can teach you, but I cannot teach you
Yeah.
Nutanix. I don't know how Nutanix works.
No. I am just having whatever the reference I can take. That if
Mhm.
the things are possible there, it might be possible in EXI also.
See, you need to understand VMware is like the iPhone, is like the Apple
Yeah.
of
Mm-hmm.
hypervisors. Okay.
Yeah,
So
it is a
any new
premium platform.
functionality, if you talk about any new functionality, Apple is the one that rolls out. You wait for 2 or 3 years and then everyone has it. Okay. Similarly,
Yeah,
is the
they are
case with
copying.
VMware. VMware is
Okay.
the undisputed champion, you can say, when it comes to virtualization. So whatever features
Okay.
VMware will release, Nutanix will basically copy it after 2 or 3 years. You can look at the history and then you can, get to know about it. So VMware, you could
No,
say, yeah,
because whenever Nutanix is getting partner with the hardware also, whenever the firmware is getting upgraded, they have their own separate versions for their
right, true.
relation.
I agree. So
But
VMware, if you look at the
is
way,
VMware
it
also
has
doing
been
that?
done, see, you need to understand when you're upgrading VMware, there is no, you can get the partner involved and you can do it on your own as well. So there is not
Yeah.
necessary that you have to get the partner involved and do everything via the partner. If you want to do that, you can
Mhm.
absolutely do it. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to.
Yeah. So in VMware, can we have if I have five servers, okay,
Hmm,
separate servers, five separate servers, and whenever VMware AXI I am deploying,
hmm.
so it should come in the central panel and have a
Hmm.
consolidated CPU
That will
and
all
memory and
happen.
all. That's when
That all
we
will
can do,
happen.
okay.
Hmm.
So whatever the storage, if 500 TB is in the different server, 300 is in different, it will all
So you
merge
will
as
have
a container base.
so you will have an external storage. You can have
Yeah, but
internal
the
storage
servers are
also. You could
different.
have external storage also.
Hey, see, what I'm asking, can you please relate? Because if a 3 HP server, or a HP or Dell server, different vendor servers are there, can
Hmm.
we deploy it? Means one is the HP server, second is Dell server.
That's okay.
So
Does
when
not
we are
matter.
installing, yeah, when we are installing the OS base, this EXI, so the
Hmm.
console will be created. Okay, but
Yes.
while getting the consolidated VM to be created, it will contain both of the storage combined, storage,
See, you
RAM,
need
and
to
all.
understand, Dhananjay, there are two approaches to it. Okay. The first approach
Uh-huh.
is that you have local storage. Okay.
Yeah.
And the second approach is you can have the remote storage. VMware supports
Okay.
both of them. Okay. We will be
Okay.
focusing on remote storage. We are not focusing on local storage. Okay. You could
Mm-hmm.
have anything. So both VMware supports local storage and remote storage both.
So it can be some different vendor. One of the HP server, one of the Dell server can be combined and
Yes.
get a central dashboard.
Yes.
So all of
Yes.
the using the resources and all.
Yes.
Okay, that one is possible. And what there is any SAN storage type of thing can be related to this EXI?
Any compatible,
SAN storage,
certified.
SAN storage.
Yeah, that is what I'm saying. Hear me out.
vSphere.
Hear me out. What I'm saying is
Mhm.
any external storage which is certified can be hooked up to the ESXi, can be connected to
But
ESXi.
it cannot make the local storage can be used as a
It can
container
be
based
used,
storage.
that is called a vSAN. That's a different VMware product
vSAN, yeah.
altogether. VMware has got
Okay.
78 products,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You can do anything and everything on VMware. You talk about running a telco, talk about running a bank, talk about running
Mhm.
5G, talk about running container, Kubernetes, AI, ML, any technology you name, and you can run it on VMware. So they have got a lot of
Okay.
different products. I am focusing only on one product, which is called data center virtualization. I am not covering all the products over here. Okay.
Okay.
S-
Do you have the connections with the VMware to get the distribution software license and all? Can you
No,
help me to get
you can
in the
make,
cheap?
no, I cannot do that. Sorry, I'm not a VMware listener. You have to go to Broadcom website. You have to download softwares from there, reach out to the sales team and, get in touch with them. I only provide training.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
You don't have the distributor network, huh?
No, why would I have it?
No, as per your company might be having some distributor partner. No, it
Sorry,
might be
buddy.
selling the things also.
Buddy,
That's why
you
I
need
asked.
to understand this is a different thing. What I do professionally is a different thing. I cannot mix both of things together. Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Anyone has any questions?
Yeah, I've got a question. Sorry. My question is about the SAN, the remote storage
Mhm.
and the VMware storage. So, like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to understand the difference and how they work. I'm a bit confused that side. Does the VMware come with its own storage? And how is the remote storage being configured different from the VMware own storage?
VMware is an operating system, just like Windows or just like a Linux. You get a hardware, and on that hardware, you install ESXi directly. Now, on the hardware, if you have local hard drive, a lot of them, it's great. If you don't have it, then generally in the organizations, you will have a sandbox. You will have a dedicated sandbox. From that dedicated sandbox, small portions of storage, for example, 1 TB, will be presented to the ESXi over the network. This can be over iSCSI, this can be over fiber channel, and then these are basically converted into data stores. You have to format, create a data store, and this is what we do. Okay, so you have a dedicated storage box in your environment. From there, I will be creating small portions of storage, and then I will be presenting them on the ESXi. This is how this would happen. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, yeah. You know where I worked, we got
Mhm.
SAN storage, and then we got
Mhm.
the VMware. We have a virtual environment where our virtual
Mhm.
machines don't have their own storage, so the
Mhm.
storage are from SAN.
Mhm.
So yeah, so I was always a bit confused how this really technology is working behind,
So,
because
right. So we will be talking all of this in the training. So when we do the training there, I have a section on storage. I will be talking about how it is, how do we set it up, what are the things that you have to take care of it, how do you present it to the ESXi, how do you put a virtual machine over there, everything we will be talking about in the training. I mean, right now, if I start talking about it, I can talk about it for hours and hours, right? So we'll do it in a structured manner so that you
okay,
understand the basics, and then when we reach the storage point, then you will understand on how it works.
no problem, noted. Yeah, thanks.
No problem. Anyone else has any questions? Okay, so this is basically what we will be doing. This is what we will be covering. So yeah, be sure about it that I will go through about anything and everything. I also have few recorded videos from my last training batch. I have been giving training since 2015, so it's been yours is not the first batch. I will be doing this on every weekend. I do this, so I will share a URL with you wherein you can see that what my um, teaching methodology is. How do I go about explaining the stuff? So you can look at the URL. and you can have a look at it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We will be starting the batch soon on a weekend. So I hope to see you there. If you have any questions, go for it. Else, we are good to go.
Yeah, Vaibhav, I have questions.
Go for it.
Yeah, so four question I have. First is there is a market in the market, Nutanix is there. So still VMware is VMware having the future.
You need to understand, Nutanix is a recent player.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can talk about that. There are so many car manufacturers in the market. So do you think that if one new car player comes in, the old ones will perish? No, that generally doesn't happen. No. Yeah, I mean, you need to have a healthy competition. You need to have a lot of players so that you have a choice. You can pick whichever ones you basically prefer, you can pick that. Absolutely, you can do this. But VMware has been there as a predominant player, and they rolled out their first ESX in 2003, and they have been in the market for close to about 21 years now.
Yeah.
Nutanix is recent player. Okay.
Yes.
Like I mentioned, VMware is a undisputed heavyweight champion. If you talk about it, all the functionalities, what they have rolled out, people do it after a lot of years. Okay. To give you an example, VMware rolled out a functionality, of software-defined networking in 2013. Microsoft did it in 2019. Okay, so after 6 years, they basically, thought about, getting this. So I can give you numerous examples wherein what VMware did years ago, people have started doing that after so many years. So VMware has been there and it's a very dominant player. You need to understand that every organization has a monopoly. So for example, if you talk about Windows, you would find the Windows operating system on nearly all the operating systems, on all the hardwares. I mean, because Windows is a very convenient operating system to use. People use it a lot. Okay. Though you have Mac operating system also, but that does not mean that everyone is, switching over to Mac and nobody is using Windows. Okay. So Windows is, like they have their monopoly, they have their dominance, when it comes to end user operating systems. Linux also has its own dominance. So similarly, when it comes to VMware, VMware has a dominance in the hypervisor space that I don't see anyone would be able to compete to that.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so thank you for the first, you cleared my doubt. Second is there any impact because Broadcom has taken the
Zero
company?
impact. Zero impact. However, if you look at it, Broadcom has made things very easier. Like I was talking about training. When VMware was there, they had a mandatory rule that you had to take a training. And that training depends on that in which region were you. If you were in US, you had to pay $4,000. If you were in India, you had to pay $1,000. So you have to take this official training and then you can give the exam and then you can be registered. Broadcom said no more training. You directly go for the exams and that's about it. Okay. So Broadcom has done a lot of good changes as well. There were few things that I did not agree with VMware. However, Broadcom has brought about those changes also. So with Broadcom, you will see simplified options. You will see a very simpler form of VMware products. VMware had made it very complicated.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And the third question is, what is the lab duration?
So you will get the lab and you would be able to access it. You can get it on weekdays, you can get it on weekends, whenever you feel like. At a stretch, you can get it for 4 hours. I think, and after that, you also need some break. So yeah, you can get the lab. Don't worry about lab. You would have access to the lab. That should be okay.
It is valid up to?
It'll be valid up to, till the training period. And after the training period also, if you want to use it for 20 or 15 more days, you can absolutely do it. Okay.
Okay, okay. So earlier also I did the VMware course here in nearby local institute. So currently I'm working as a system admin last 4 years, and I'm attempting so many interviews, around 20 to 30 interviews I've given for the VMware administrator. But what issue which I'm facing, they are not ready to give opportunity to a fresher or the L1 people.
I'll talk about in the training what you need to do to tweak your profile.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. I'll give you resume pointers as well after the training, what you can mention in your resume, how you can tweak your profile. Everyone does it professionally. So I'll talk about it in the training, that how you can do that. Don't worry about
Okay.
it.
So where I'm failing, because they are asking scenario-based question.
Okay, you keep a note of all the scenario-based questions. Okay, we'll talk about it in the training, each and every question that you have. All the 50, 20, 30 interviews that you have given, all the 100 questions that you have, I will address all of them one by one. Don't worry about it. You keep a note of it. Okay,
Sure. Thank you. Thank you
that's
so
my
much.
promise to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anyone else? Yeah, Sharad, go for it. You had a question, but you have raised your hand.
Yep. Regarding the training environment, whatever the lab which I've stated, right, that we would be having the access during the training period and post the training period. So,
Mhm.
according to the productivity, whatever if in case a firm has been deploying around 50 to 30 hosts, do we have the same provision and all while having this access to the environment, lab environment?
So lab environment will give you an access to create virtual machines, to create storage. Whatever we are doing in the class, you would be able to replicate everything in the lab. So you will have access to anything and everything. I mean, you would be able to deploy VMs, create ESXi's, manage all of them centrally, do networking, do storage, everything you would be able to do.
Okay. Sorry to cut you off, but what I mean to ask is exactly, so whatever the scenario would be going on under the production environment, right? Exactly, like if in case we do have a
Sure,
multiple VMware hosts and all. So regarding to that base and all, we can deploy a multiple hosts and all, right?
absolutely. We will deploy multiple hosts, multiple virtual machines, multiple storage, multiple networks. How do we connect them together? We'll talk about everything. We will do that even in the demo as well.
Yeah, cool. Just want to have this idea. That's it. Thank
Sure,
you.
no problem. Thank you for asking.
Remember, we will
Anyone?
get all the trainings videos, recordings,
Yes, yes.
and what will be the fees?
You need to reach out to Amit, the guy who basically gave you this URL for the Zoom meeting today. Reach out to him. He will be the right person to answer that question. I basically look from the technical point of view, and he's the one who looks after from the management point of view. So he would be
Okay.
able to answer the question on the fees part.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, I just want to ask one more question.
Go for it.
Yeah, Citrix, I've heard about this technology before. I know it's also a virtual, it's for virtualization and all those things, but I'm just thinking like, is it the same as VMware, or if not the same, what are the difference? Because people talk about it a lot. I've not used it, and I've just heard about it, but I don't really know how it really
Right.
works.
So you need to consider this, that if you buy a car, you can buy a car from Chevrolet, you can buy a Ford car, you could buy a GM car, you could buy, there are so many brands out there. You can buy a car from any one of them, right? All of them will give you the functionality of airbags. All of them will give you power steering. All of them will give you GPS connectivity, and all of them would basically give you all these small functionalities. Okay. Similarly is the case over here as well. You have a lot of vendors who are basically giving out hypervisor capabilities. Okay. They also have different products. Like I mentioned, VMware sells 78 products. Similarly, Citrix also sells a lot of products. So they have products which can target you from the hypervisor. They can do a desktop virtualization. They can do an application virtualization. They can, do all these things. All these things VMware can also do for you. It's not that, Citrix is the only one who's providing all these capabilities, or VMware is the only one who's providing you capabilities. Basically, you have a lot of people in the market. You have a lot of companies giving you more or less the same features. If you talk about cloud, you can run cloud in AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, Alibaba, IBM. So many cloud providers are out there. More or less, all of them give you the same functionality. You have to pick and choose that which one is the best for you. Similarly, it's the case over here as well. That in hyperspace world, hypervisor world, there are so many companies giving you basically more or less the same software. But end of the day, you need to look at, which is the popular one, how it works, how do you get it set up. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, very well. Thank you.
No problem. Anyone else? Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out. Yeah, you had a question, buddy?
Yeah, but only
Okay.
last question.
Go for it.
So what is the meaning AWS on VMware, Azure on VMware, GCP on VMware?
So it basically means that, VMware as a software, it was built in 2002. Okay. So
Okay.
VMware was basically built to run in the on-premises environments. This is what the product was built back then. Okay. But now VMware gives you the flexibility that you can deploy the VMware stack on Google Cloud. You can deploy the VMware stack on AWS Cloud. You can deploy the VMware stack on Azure Cloud. So this is the functionality that VMware has basically come up with.
But
Okay.
what is the means? What will he the? Once I can I want to say already they
What is
are
the
providing.
benefit?
Yeah, benefit, because already they are giving to create the VM. So what is the
Okay.
benefit?
Let me answer this question. Simple answer to this, buddy, is VMware runs 85 million virtual machines. So VMware as a company, combining all the customers around the world, they have 85 million virtual machines, close to that. Do you think that everyone will do away with VMware and everyone will move to cloud overnight?
No.
AWS as a cloud was released in 2007. If AWS as a cloud was released in 2007, VMware should have died till now. VMware as a company should have perished till now. But VMware is still making a lot of money. So think about it. You have options. Cloud is something that you can go to the cloud, but everything has pros and cons to it. Okay. You need to decide which is the one that you're referring to, or which one is you are basically going to live with. So in cloud, again, you have a lot of challenges. It's not like, cloud is all, hunky dory and everything looks fine over there. It has its own set of challenges. Okay. And VMware has also its own set of challenges, but it depends, what you would like to do with. So for example, in India, you would have heard about State Bank of India, SBI. Okay?
Yeah.
SBI is the largest Indian customer for VMware. SBI is one of the largest customers of VMware in India. Now, do you think that SBI can move all their data to AWS and have nothing at their on-prem?
No.
That cannot happen, right?
Yeah.
SBI as a customer has to maintain their on-prem because they have to keep the data in front of their eyes. They cannot rely on that, it's in some cloud somewhere and they will start running everything from there, right? So many
Right.
companies cannot do that. Okay, so that's the reason VMware is here yesterday, today, and it will be there tomorrow also. Okay. However, VMware has given you a flexibility that now, if you want to move my workloads, VMware workloads in the cloud, you can absolutely do that. That is not a challenge. So you can run the VMware stack, like I mentioned, on any of the clouds, and you can have your virtual machines migrating from the on-premises environment to the cloud environment, running in the same VMware stack. That all can be done now. So VMware has basically gone ahead and started merging with the cloud environments as well. The way you deploy VMware stack in your on-premises environment, you can also deploy it on the Google Cloud as well, or on the Oracle Cloud, or on the Azure Cloud.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem. Anyone else? All right, folks. Thank you so much for giving your time today. It was lovely talking to you all. I hope to see you in the class. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.